Good afternoon, everyone. I think we will wait for a couple of minutes so that everybody will join the room, the virtual room. Hello, my name is Vera Pasenko. I'm a marketing manager at IEDC Bild School of Management. I'd like to thank you for finding time to join us online and to introduce the speakers of today's EMBA info session. First of all, let me present Professor Drikus Kriek, who is the Dean of IEDC Bild School of Management. He's also a director of DBA program at IEDC. He's been for quite some years with IEDC and teaches on various topics, different IEDC programs. Major topic, I think, is leadership. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Hope not. And it's my pleasure to pass the floor to Professor Kriek.
Thank you very much, Vera. And may I also extend my welcome to you all. I know that it is a very challenging time making up one's decision about the MBA and the commitment to that. I remember during the time when I made the decisions about the one that I took, how important it was to be informed and also to know what the benefits are that actually comes around with the way in which the MBA is structured, and also some of the important parts, learning opportunities that comes along with being part of an MBA. Here at the IEDC, it is our great pleasure to welcome people to act as a meeting space and opportunity where people can connect, where they can also share in their journeys, develop their careers, build their own identity as leaders, and also to network and be exposed to some of the great, important, and also very practical theories and practices related to best practice. We'll speak a little bit more about that in a short while, but let me introduce our guests, speakers this afternoon as well. First and foremost, Aleksandra Bošković, who is the CEO of Bild Studio in Montenegro. She's a recent MBA graduate, having completed her studies in 2019. Aleksandra, thank you very much for joining with us and welcome to here with us, and thanks for sharing your views and ideas as well.
Thank you for inviting me.
Also joining us is Klemen Ramoveš. He's Executive Co-Director for Digitalization and User Experience at Triglav in Slovenia. And he completed his studies in 2007 already. So it gives us a perspective from someone who had been here before as well, been longer with us, and also to see the impact what it had on his career. Klemen, thank you very much for joining us as well, and thanks for your insights.
Thank you.
And then I'm also joined by our colleague, Sandra Zajc, who is the EMBA admissions officer, and she will also give you some information and a few bits of how the journey can evolve from here onwards. As part of this webinar, we're going to spend a little bit of time just thinking about the IEDC, the career impact that the MBA may have. And we will do that by asking a few questions and giving the participants, the respondents, opportunity to share their views. And then we will also allow for some questions and answers from you if there are any additional information you may want to have specifically to the speakers, and they will have chance to answer some of that of you. And Sandra will provide some final comments also relating to the process of enrollment as what I mentioned, specifically with next year's enrollment in mind. However, before we start, may I invite you on some of it, let's call it a virtual tour or a virtual experience of our school here at the IEDC.
We don't focus only on knowledge, we much more focus on skills and attitudes of people. That requires energy, that requires focus of the topics we talk about. And in this program we got energy from the participants. We cover the topics which stretch them, which makes them occasionally uncomfortable, but allow them to perform better once they come back to their organization.
What you will definitely agree is that great sales forces are never born. A great sales force is the result of managers making conscious choices for a long period of time in a way which is steady and consistent with the strategy of the organization.
It's all about learning from companies around the world that have achieved sustainability in their project based on their ability not only to attract new customers, but also to create, develop, and maintain profitable relations with the customers they already have and also with the ones they attract.
Thank you very much, Vera. And I'm sure, Klemen, you and Aleksandra remember or see some of the faces with fondness also from your time when you were here. The school, as you could see, is in a very particular setting, goes by the logo, the slogan, a school with a view, because that's exactly what we do. It's not only that it gives you a view on the world and a view on business, but also addresses your view of how you look at the world. Maybe just while we settle in and get a chance to talk with our participants, just two clear pieces of information that may help also in the discussion. And that is that we have an executive MBA and that there are two formats, a 2-year format that is stretched over a 2-year period of 17 weeks, where you participate in 7 modules over the 2 years of roughly around 3 weeks each. And then if you want to take part of the 3-year format, that allows you a little bit more flexibility. It stretches the study over 3 years, and it gives you chance to do that then in a little bit more of a controlled fashion also in terms of the time, and it also exposes you to more participants. Next year we start on Sunday, February the 12th, the evening thereof, and application is open till the end of the month, and I hope that you all will take part in that process and also through the way in which this discussion will sway and convince you also to join us. We would look forward to that. Maybe just a few things about the participants, if you would like to know that. the majority of our participants has got close on 10 years of work experience, also specifically already management experience. 9.5 years actually is the average of our numbers of work experience. We have a large percentage of international students, 71% of them are international. And the average age of the participants, and especially since this is an executive MBA that is pertinent, is 36 years old. We have a focus on senior management, on people who are on their way to senior management, but more importantly, people who also find an opportunity to take time in their careers also to change and to develop a few things, to acquire some new experience. And with that, just as a background, understanding the format and also have a sense of the participants, may I then give the floor to our panelists and ask Aleksandra and Klemen maybe to share some of their experiences. And before I ask something a little bit more specific about what you've been doing, maybe just for us to start with a general reflection. Now, a couple of years down the road, what did you make of your experience here at the IEDC? And maybe I start with you, Aleksandra, and then I will give you Klemen, because you had been here a longer while.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for saying it was a recent MBA, because it's been like 3 years. And looking back, looking at the video right now, I was overwhelmed with emotions, seeing Professor Nenad, seeing Pierre Castet in one moment, and Joe Pons, and it was amazing, really. And it would be probably inappropriate to share my screen because my desktop is full, but I have a picture of Blood Lake on my laptop, and I do like to, that's the first thing I see when I come to the work. So I think it's a good thing to mention that I really have wonderful emotions and memories of Blood. And what's maybe the greatest takeaways is the network of people. I always mention that I didn't have that, that wasn't my
Did we lose Aleksandra there for a moment?
I think.
Or is it only me? Seems
lost,
like,
I think.
Yes, that there's probably a challenge there. Klemen, that gives you a chance maybe to say, if you look back at what you saw there, some of the memories maybe take you back a little bit, but what did it do to you? Look back at, think back about your time here at IEDC.
I gave myself a promise that I need to revisit school each year, right? Just to get that feeling of MBA class that we had, like from 2006 till today. I agree with Aleksandra, the feeling is still there somehow, especially when you see the bleak surroundings and some old faces which still didn't change. So, and I like the slogan that it was used, that only the best is good enough. So,
sorry, something happened with my internet. So I don't know what's the last thing you heard, but it was amazing, great. So, Klemen.
Okay, no, we already gave Klemen a little bit of a chance while you were offline, Aleksandra, but thanks for that. Maybe just by way of connecting this time that you've been away and also connecting it to what you've been doing. Maybe if you can just tell us since completion of your studies, what you've been doing and what you think the impact was of the MBA into your career and how your career path has charted its route after the MBA. Klemen, may I start with you and then?
Yeah, but I will be longer because it's like 15 years from from the D-Day, but nevertheless, it was quite a journey, I must say. As it is written, I finished the MBA in 2007, then I returned back to Telekom Slovenia at that time when I was employed. The school immediately gives you the broader view of and perspective of things, and somehow it also increase your self-confidence that you want to do more important things, not just some operational. And immediately after my graduation, I moved to Macedonia as an expat when I lived for 3 years. Then I came back to Slovenia for 1 year, and then I moved to Albania for almost 2 years. I would say that because IEDC experience, it gives me much smoother transition in those countries. One is regarding the knowledge somehow that you are able to use it, and the second thing is also the network that you have behind. For example, in Albania, I was the only Slovenian guy because all Slovenian companies left that time. I immediately contact IEDC alumni, please connect me with somebody who shared the same values as me. And I got one of the best friends from IEDC alumni. Dritan is the name, if you're listening, Dritan, hello from mine. Then somehow from telecom experience, I moved to the consultants business. This means that this 80-kearney experience with end of model exercising and final exam somehow push you in the consulting field, I believe. So I was in business consulting for 5 years, and then I decided somehow to move from consulting to create something. Then I moved to the Cozy Lab, which is one of the, I will say, most prospective company in Slovenia. They are doing big science projects like ITER, CERN, NASA, fusion, nuclear physics, and so on. And nevertheless, then somehow I got invited to the more traditional way back to, let's say, corporate ladder to join the insurance. During all those years, pretty much I will always say that IEDC was on top of each learning, for sure, the experience that gives me the most in those last 15 years. Because if you came like this with your point of view, I think one of the objectives of the school is that when you out, you should look like this, right? It's maybe not like this. So this was my experience in short presentation. So
thank you very much. Aleksandra, your view, are you there to add?
Well, it's quite similar, although I didn't change my job. I think it just got better in doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I was promoted to the CEO position in 2018, right before I started my MBA journey. And everything I learned in school gave me not only knowledge, but more confidence that I'm going to be somehow okay, even if I'm making mistakes. And learning from other people, from their experience of being the CEO or in management, executive management positions, have really gave me confidence that I will learn what I don't know, or I can manage more than I thought I can. And when I heard Professor Nenad saying you will be found in situations that are some.
Well, maybe I should jump in again, all right?
Yeah, you're welcome, Klemen.
I think that we are waiting for Aleksandra to connect back, but I think that I can say the same, right? The point of view on one challenge can change, right? Because the group exercise, the group's different experience level can change your perspective of how you look at one business, let's say, problem or challenge, right?
Okay, yeah.
So this is the main takeaway, not just only one solution. There is no one solution, there are many solutions, many values, many experience behind. So
okay, and while you mentioned the class and some of the work in the class and the group work, maybe some of the participants considering, where to enroll as well, and whether to enroll at the IEDC, maybe they have in mind also a few things, and maybe you can also share from your side, when you think back about the time before you enrolled, you thought about, what are those things to consider? Can you perhaps remember what were the things that went in your mind, and how were your company involved in some of this, and the company you worked for?
The main thing was, I think it's common thing, it's how to set up all the logistic behind, right? Meaning that you are away from the job, from your family, from everything that you care. And then you go to something that you don't know what to experience there, right? Regarding everything. So this was my challenge, how to balance study time, work time, and also the family time at the same time. And each time that everybody asked me what they should be aware, I always say, look, you need to have support from the job for sure, because you will be away from sometimes, but never, never, and never again also forget support of your family, because somehow you will be missing also from the home, not just from the job. The job part, it's easy to manage if you ask me, because in the first week, somehow the people who is working with you figure out that you are on study at IEDC, and then amount of emails dropping from first week to pretty much zero level on the third week, in my experience, right? So this is maybe the message. If you think it's hard to manage, it's once you are there, you will see that maybe the first week is something unknown, but then you are adapt, and how to say, involvement from the job or from the family, it's also the decreasing part. And so it's okay. Alex.
Okay, so when you, that was some of the worries you had beforehand, how to manage family and how to manage the company that you worked for, or the work and the family as well. Were there some other things you had in mind in why you considered coming to IEDC?
Yeah, for sure. At that time, I believe it's still current. It was one of the best schools in the region, right? It gives you the access to top professor pretty much in every field. It gives you network, not just from the MBA, but also from the others program that IEDC is running. So combining this, it was for me, it was the easy decision to apply, right? So.
Okay, and maybe if we can just go back to the studies that you mentioned, that you had some group work and that the classes were busy, but how intense was it? I mean, if you recall, maybe some advice to people listening and wondering, considering about how intense was it?
For me, it depends on the model, right? Some model requires more energy and more effort, more reading or more exercise or business cases. Some are more relaxed, but nevertheless, when you are there, it's, in my experience, it is quite intensive. So usually we start at 9, if I remember, finish at 5 p.m. Then you had like 1 or 2 hour break. Usually I was running around the lake, which is amazing experience, and it's even more beautiful than on the video it was shown, because you can see Bled in different time of the year. So this is the Bled experience. But nevertheless, when the running was over, you immediately, at least in some models, you need to immediately go to the reading material and preparation for the next day. So the time that you are there, it's quite intensive in my opinion. I don't know how it's now, Aleksandra, in 2018, 2019. So maybe you can share.
Are you back, Aleksandra?
Yeah, I don't know. My colleagues are fixing the network. for some reason in the middle of this. So I do apologize to all participants. It was quite intense. And one thing that I can assure you is that people from Slovenia, they used to run around the lake during the breaks. People from other countries would use it for lunch or for just, I don't know, drinking coffee or whatever. But it's also true that it depends on the module. So some are less intense, some are more intense. Once the module starts, and when you prepare the case study, the final case study for the company, there were a lot of nights of no sleep, a lot of classroom, I don't know, working in the library and so on and so on. But that's all, I would say, a great learning experience as well, and a great bonding experience with the colleagues. And I don't know, maybe the best anecdotes and are from that period of time when you don't sleep, when you're trying to figure out like how to complete a presentation in 48 hours or less. And I think that's also one of, although it's very hard and intense, I do believe that's one of the great qualities of this school, because it does pushes you, but I think it also brings out the best in people. Like you can do more, or you can get out of your comfort zone. So it's as I already said, it's a great learning experience.
And Aleksandra, I asked Klemen that before, but maybe your view as well on some of the practical or logistical issues back home, back at the office, some of the challenges being away. How did you manage that? And what would be some advice, if you can say that, to participants? Because that's often something that people are worried about.
Wear something warm. Wear something warm all the time. Like I thought in May I wouldn't just be freezing, but it happened. So practical advice: wear something warm all the time with you. Book accommodation for the whole 3-year period ahead, because the blood is quite busy from May until September. If you don't have car, book it close to the faculty, but it's not such a big place. It's beautiful to walk around. Just do that. When it comes to work, Klemen already mentioned that like first week of the first module is the hardest. I would say that my whole first module was very, very hard, because although I expected an intense experience of learning and adjusting, it was also kind of tricky with the job, because I wasn't aware of how long I would be absent, or will I be able to respond to some emails. But as it gets, I don't know, throughout the modules, it got easier, because I knew that I cannot be at work all the time or at all. And I delegated all the things, and I started prepping my team way before I would go to the second or third module. So it gets easier. And at the time I had just a boyfriend, so he was okay with me being away for a few weeks. But I know from the experience of my colleagues, and once I got my boy, I realized how hard it is for the parents. So it's really important that you have the support from family as well. And because you'll be missing them a lot more than your work. This will be like, okay, I'm out of work. I can, step back from the problems from the work. And it's a kind of good experience from that side. But when it comes to family, it's a bit more tricky. So, good support system is really, really important, both back at home and back at work.
Okay, thank you very much. And may I also, being wary about the time and understanding that we're all busy and you all on the call are busy as well, can I open the floor to some questions from participants or potential participants? Some of you that may want to ask a question to Aleksandra and Klemen, or to us, you are more than welcome, and then we take it from there. Otherwise, we can have maybe one or two more questions from my side. Anybody like to pose a question? Just unmute, jump in, and I will facilitate that.
I think we have a Q&A section below, so participants can see the button Q&A. If you would like to pose a question, just type in.
Yes, you can do that as well. If you want to pose it in the chat, maybe that's probably the easiest, given the fact that we do this on a webinar. And maybe I can ask, and while we wait for a question or two, if there is one thing, Klemen and Aleksandra, one thing that stood out, one thing that you really thought that this was, let's call it, life-changing, which part was that, and what do you think that the MBA do to facilitate that?
Aleksandra, ladies first, or?
We're very good in buying time, like.
Also, that's the one thing that the school taught you, how to manage time and delegate, and depends on the one hand this and on the other hand that. Remember?
Well, it's really hard, and you do ask hard questions, and you did that at school as well. So one thing, well, just a step back. A friend who went to MBA said to me, it's a life-changing experience, and it sounded like a good, I don't know, a good metaphor. And I really wasn't like, you're an old man, like, what do you mean? And when I came back, I said, it also changed my life. And I think it's because I cannot extract one thing. I think it's the combination of everything that happens there. The people you hear, the people you get to know, the amazing surrounding, like you are in a fairy tale of a sort, and then you're in the library learning, or you are debating with your colleagues, and then you're going to the bar, like to stress relief, and then you know you have to get up at 8. It's like so intense and so full of, I don't know, new things that or new or old. And I think that we all grow through studies. Like, I don't think that any of us went to Bled and came back as the same person, like with the same beliefs or with the same view of the business. That was the main takeaway from all of us. Like, I do see things differently now, in a different manner. So I cannot exclude one thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a very clear one thing. I really, to be able to see the world differently, that's the transforming thing. That is really, really something. Klemen?
Yeah, it's similar with me. If I need to choose one thing, I would say teamwork, because after you are, let's say, tired, or you need to catch some deadlines regarding the presentation, it can get quite intensive. But if you are considering this first as a, let's say, challenge, then you see it's pretty much learning experience, right? One of the biggest one, because somehow you, Aleksandra mentioned beliefs and values. Somehow you can see those beliefs and values in action in teamwork. And it's also related to the thing that I mentioned, that each team member have a different perspective or solution of problem, and somehow to came with one idea in the end, it's the biggest learning experience, in my opinion.
Yeah,
positive one, right?
Okay. Also, you know, these days we have 2 or 3 day formats, as what I mentioned. That basically means that you come to school kind of like 4 times a year, 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe also share that experience. How did you find that? You said initially it was very tough that first week, but how did it go, and what happened along the route as well? And maybe if I can, not to make it a difficult question, Aleksandra, but maybe just to add to that also the experience of the face-to-face versus potentially online, you know, that all of us now these days experience online things as well, but our MBA is face-to-face. And how did that build on to the fact that you see each other in 2 to 3 month intervals? Klemen, may I start with you this time?
Yeah, Aleksandra, guys are again fixing the internet, right? I think.
Oh, yeah.
No, for me, the first week was the most intensive one, but nevertheless, somehow, because you have a feeling that you need to be on different places, you know, like to be immediately responsive to some challenges. But once you figure out what is important, that they can wait somehow regarding reply or whatever request they have from you. Once you manage to get over this, it's much easier. Nevertheless, I'm from Ljubljana. At that time, I decided to stay at the Bild. At that time, the whole, let's say, study, because it was much more easier, I think, that to driving from one place to another one, because I think it's pretty much impossible. And all the respect to the guys who are taking the decision to drive home in and out each day. So I think this is crucial somehow, that you have a place to rest your brain, reflect, and also wake up in the morning, not trying to bother regarding traffic, personal issue, or kids in kindergarten, in school, etc. So, but it's once the first week, if you survive the first week, you survive the first 2 years without any problem.
Yeah, sure. Aleksandra, and for you, coming back every so often, how did it build and how did it do to the team and to the colleagues in the class and so on?
Well, as Klemen said, after you survive the first module, you will survive everything. But what helps, I mean, the preparation, I mean, your brain for the second, third, and other modules is already prepped and ready, that you will work hard, that you will be faced with lots of different challenges. So you're kind of tuned to the whole experience. Like, you know that that you have to learn, that you have to listen, debate, and I think that you just got accustomed to that. But it's really important that you use the surroundings of Bled for an inspiration, to walk around, to have fun. And I think although it's intense, and I know I'm thinking about an intense experience, I do think that you have more than enough time to get to know each other with your classmates, with the surroundings. It's beautiful, and the whole environment is really supportive. So it's not like you have to drop that. It's not that. And I think it's really important that all things that you do after you come back home or to work is like to reflect on what you learn and share with your colleagues. It really helps out, like to just summarize what you learn, what is new, how you can apply it to your colleagues. They feel like they're part of your learning experience, and you learn to practice, like this works or this doesn't work. And I think it's really important that you share what's bothering you with your classmates and with your teammates, and because people are usually have the same like worries, like at work, how to delegate, how to fix some problems, and so on and so on. So I think it's very important to be open about what's bugging you, what's struggling. And Slovenia has greatest wines, so in Vino Veritas.
I was about to ask, I mean, I know that every year it differs, but it's Art Cafe, it is Devil's Bar, it's pizza around here. There are also parts that you can have fun beyond just the intense bits in the classroom, but let's leave that for the participants to explore as they come here. May I ask, Sandra, if I can ask you, I don't see any questions in the Q&A or in the chat, but maybe if I can ask you to just share a little bit about the journey forward, specifically for those interested in potentially applying, and then we can maybe warn you beforehand, Aleksandra and Klemen, just to have a final word from your side just after Sandra has said something about the admissions process. Sandra?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Absolutely clear.
Yeah, okay. Where there are some general admission criteria that a candidate has to meet. So at least 3 years of relevant working experience, then at least a completed bachelor degree or higher. The start of the next intake is on February the 12th. However, the general application deadline is October 31st. A candidate has to send me the application form and also 2 letters of recommendation. Then I invite them to admission interview, and after that we then send all the materials, pre-readings, and so on. So this is the October 31st is a general deadline, but however, we can accept also the later applications. This is just to be on the safe side that you have enough time to get ready for the start and so on. So if you have any other questions, please contact me. I will be happy to help you.
Yes, maybe something about the 2 opportunities for scholarship. One that you may want to pass on to some of your colleagues, because the deadline for that has already passed, is that our alumni clubs arranges in the various countries different case study competitions, and the winners of that then participate in a global one. As a matter of fact, that's just currently running, and the winners of that then also get some opportunity to get scholarships. And there are also some scholarships that the different alumni clubs in the various countries have, and you may also want to connect with any one of them, or if you have any questions or potentially would like to ask more about that, to contact my colleagues Sandra or Vera. Before I say a final word or 2, can I rather leave a final word to Klemen and Aleksandra. Aleksandra, you first this time around, because Klemen, I've been picking on him a couple of times already. Just a final word, maybe something from your side.
Well, I know you're probably wondering, is it too long for 2 years, or can you manage? I would advise you to be bold, to have a leap of faith, because the school has a great support system and network that you need. And although it seems like a long period of time, it's actually the greatest time for everything that you learn and hear to just come together and to implement it in your work experience. And from my experience at work, everything I learned 3 years ago is very much helped me, even more so than during the study time, to do and understand business and management and people way better. So I wouldn't change that experience, although it was hard, for anything in the world. And I would advise you just be bold. That's my final say. And Klemen, thank you for being the sport and standing up to me while I was away. And I apologize once again for that.
No worries.
I would just like to add, somehow to complement Aleksandra. My philosophy is nothing is without reason, right? Nothing in life happens without reason. So if there is any reason that you are on this info seminar, please check why you're here and somehow listen to your heart. You will not regret if you follow that decision in positive or negative way. So, but I believe it's worth it to try. It's not the commercial part, but still, I can just repeat whatever Aleksandra said. So,
thank you very, very much. Maybe a last word or so from my colleagues, if there is something that you may want to have a last word on, or something that I have forgotten. That is always a possibility. Anything, Vera, Sandra, or are you okay?
I think just a little comment regarding, maybe to add a little bit on what Sandra was saying for the application process and for financial opportunities. As you mentioned, there are still some scholarship open which are given in cooperation with the IEDC Alumni Club. So the procedure to apply for those is to apply for MBA at IEDC and provide also a scholarship essays or motivational letter. And then Sandra will guide you through the rest of the process. So it's still open, and if you're from a particular country, you just basically consult also with Sandra what are the options. Otherwise, I think we covered more or less everything, and if there are some questions.
Yeah, thank you very much. And may I, first of all, thanks Klemen, you and Aleksandra. Thank you very much for being prepared to share your time, your experiences, and also for being such bold ambassadors for the school as well. Thank you very much for that. May I also invite all the participants, those of you considering, if there is anything you would like to ask, to want to have clarification on, whether that's academic, administrative support, or professional, you are more than welcome to contact us. We will gladly assist. We will gladly ask you. We will even get you in contact with people who had gone through the process, if that will help and if that would give you some clarification or peace of mind. But I am very sure that it is a worthwhile experience. It is transformative, and most definitely looking forward to meet you all on the 12th of February next year. So thank you very much, and thanks again for everyone on the call. See you soon.